My road broke from a clear line of gruesome destruction into a fresh, untouched stretch of forest. Then it had worked. I'm a trucker on a highway that doesn't exist. Some of the truckers have secrets * report any unusual weather patterns immediately. While rain, sleet, and hail are all common occurrences on Route 333, they are generally water-based events. Alcohol, oil, or gasoline are atypical weather-centric liquids, though not necessarily deadly. ***, pray no blood appears in your rain. If it does, there is no longer much point in reporting anything ever again. ***, Employee Handbook, Section 8. e***part1/www.reddit.com/r/no sleep/comments/1 I'm a trucker on a highway that doesn't exist /www.reddit.com/r/no sleep/comments/1 I'm a trucker on a highway that doesn't exist u/part3/www.reddit.com/r/no sleep/comments/1 I'm a trucker on a highway that doesn't exist i/part4/www.reddit.com/r/no sleep/comments/183 I'm a trucker on a highway that doesn't exist don't/part5/www.reddit.com/r/no sleep/comments/1659 I'm a trucker on a highway that doesn't exist i/part6/www.reddit.com/r/no sleep/comments/155 I'm a trucker on a highway that doesn't exist i/part7/www.reddit.com/r/no sleep/comments/1 I'm a trucker on a highway that doesn't exist /part8/www.reddit.com/r/no sleep/comments/170 I'm a trucker on a highway that doesn't exist ready/part9/www.reddit.com/r/no sleep/comments/135 I'm a trucker on a highway that doesn't exist this/part10/www.reddit.com/r/no sleep/comments/142 I'm a trucker on a highway that doesn't exist i/part11/www.reddit.com/r/no sleep/comments/1review/ I'm a trucker on a highway that doesn't exist /we'll figure something out, I said. We won't. I can handcuff you or tie you up. The road might still think it's against your will. We could trick it, though that won't work, Autumn said. We were still in the cab of my truck after learning how lane-locked drivers could escape Route 333 from the pregnant hitchhiker woman from her newborn baby, technically. What if we stop? She slammed a fist against the dashboard, but the hanging air freshener shuddered. Yet you can't fix everything. It's not your responsibility. But we'll figure this out. There's no *we, but *you barely even know me. But it's too late. I give up. But how long do you think until the road takes you out? How? Then you no now. So I can't be happy about that. Go save the others while there's time. I am not leaving a stop. She clambered over the black, amniotic birthing fluid, puddled on the passenger seat, and leapt from my rig. But what are you doing? I called. She didn't respond, but she marched the opposite direction. Let me at least give you a ride, I said, yet Autumn didn't slow. Then where are you going? But I can get you there safely. Then Autumn, leave me alone, she screamed. It's only a few miles, so I'm walking home by myself. Not to *town *, my apartment. She'd accepted the town she'd been staying in as *home *. The place she now in would always live, like how Tiff had found a diner and settled down. Then Autumn was giving up, but she was right, but I couldn't fix everything. I couldn't even fix my own problems, and now I gone and ruined her life too. By involving her in my plan, I'd taken away any chance she had of escaping Route 333, yet I couldn't fix everything, yet I could fix one thing. It was the same destructive frenzy that had entered me before I'd assaulted Randall. Then there was no reasoning. There was no calming down and second-guessing. There was only the single-minded obsessiveness that would consume me until I accomplished what I had to, and I knew the secret. Route 333 had warned me once what would happen if I tried to interfere. I got the sense it wouldn't bother with a second. What are you doing? Randall approached me at the truck yard. His nose cast was finally gone, but there was a distinct skewness to his face now. Hooking up an empty trailer. I crawled out from where I'd finished making sure the jaws were locked. Over my dead body, easily arranged. You're already deep in overtime, Randall insisted. We're not financing the entirety of your starter home. Didn't Data already try this? When I ignored him, he continued. Look, Brendan, you're not doing anything for Chris by setting off on a fool's errand, and he's only a year out. We'll even keep him on as an employee. This I'm not going for Chris. And no, and not yet, at least, and not first. I'm going for Tiff. There, how many times have we discussed this? You're not. I know how to save her. His mouth, no joke, fell open. Apparently, that's the thing that does happen in real life. Yeah, how do you know? In no time. Yeah, the road knows I know. I need to go for her before it decides to take the two of us out, but if I don't make it back, radio autumn. She can explain more to you. So you have met that girl, regardless. You can't just barrel into this like always. Management is already screaming at me because of you. Yet calm down, let's talk about the strategy. I jabbed him in the chest with a finger. You never really tried to help Tiff, did you? So that was a lie. Then just like everything else, you say you want to help us to make yourself feel better, but you never have. For once in your miserable life, admit the truth. Randall, you don't care about us, you never will. His face flashed through a dozen emotions: confusion, anger, hurt, grief, etc. Of course I do. He then let me go. He stood there, but he jabbed me in my own chest. Don't you dare make me hire your replacement. I'm busy as it is. Then he nodded once, and I left. So, dear readers, if you were hoping for something a bit more cathartic in Randall's Emma relationship, then it's my displeasure to inform you that's all you're going to get, but there will be no enemies to BFF story arc. No tear-jerking asterisk, he sacrifices his life for me asterisk, or asterisk I take a bullet for him, but asterisk I don't especially like Randall, but I doubt he likes me. Likely, neither of those opinions will ever change, but turning out of the parking lot that day, there was at least something akin to asterisk respect asterisk between us, yet he had his job. He was good at it, but I had mine. Backslash for lack of a better term. My mom and dad were helicopter parents, then I haven't talked much about them. There isn't some deep, dark backstory surrounding my childhood or anything. It simply hasn't been relevant to my time on Route 333 until now. So in elementary school I played soccer, but my dad attended every game. On one particular Saturday morning, he stormed on the field and screamed in the referee's face, spit flying, for yellow carding me, so guess who got a red card? In 5th grade, Garrett invited me to his birthday party at the bowling alley. Then parents weren't invited. We were 11 after all, but my mom insisted on accompanying me anyway to make sure nothing got out of hand. She sat right at my side, between me and the other boys. When it was my time to bowl, she shouted pointers and cheered when I knocked over a single pin. I never got an invitation to Garrett's next birthday party. Then I could go on. Dentist appointments, friend issues, first dates, high school football games. There was virtually no aspect of my life they didn't investigate, advise, or meddle in, but don't get me wrong. They were good parents, asterisk great asterisk parents even, but by the time I ever so much as mentioned the possibility of detention, they'd already contacted my teacher, the principal, and the school board for separate average meetings. Very rarely did their intervention ever actually asterisk help asterisk. Mainly, all it taught me was that there would always be somebody else to solve my problems for me. I won't claim it's their fault I'm the way I am, unable to handle life unless something with teeth is chasing me forward. I've seen crappy parents end up with all-star kids and vice versa. Each of us has a nature and a potential, and a moment or a dozen when we decide to fulfill or not to fulfill that potential. It would, however, be dishonest to say they didn't asterisk influence asterisk who I am. I never quite had the chance to learn to swim before I was being thrown in front of a wave. All of that to say this, sometimes it's the things we do to protect people that end up hurting them. So isn't that what I done with Autumn? But I wanted to save her. I tried to give her a chance, but instead I'd taken that very chance away. Was that what I was doing with Tiff? So would my helping her hurt her? It was possible, asterisk likely asterisk even, but what else was I supposed to do? At what point did aid turn into overbearing and help turn into obsession? That was the truth of it, I suspected, but my parents. They'd loved me, but their vulture-like circling had never been about me, not entirely. It had been about their need to fix. To feel they were asterisk good asterisk parents doing the asterisk right asterisk thing for their child. And was that me? So was I the vulture? There were too many sides to every equation. For years, I'd been unable to tell what I should do and how I should do it. It had crippled me, knocked me over at the knees. All I did know was that I had to do asterisk something asterisk. If that thing was helping somebody, then what? Brendan? Tiff said as I entered her red and white diner. She was wiping crumbs off one of the tables. Could have sworn Dave told me she saw you headed to dispatch. Did you miss it? Did you wish you could go back? She paused mid-swipe. Brendan, if something's up, I'm always free to talk, then you know that. No, but this isn't about me, so I don't want it to be. Tiff, I just need to know if, well, you miss it, yet asterisk real asterisk world, so life, people, all of it, and do you wish you could go back? Would you risk your life to get there? Her eyebrows crinkled. She clasped her hands and the tattoos along her forearms flexed. Yet I've built something for myself here. When I got stuck, I imagine nobody in the real world asked about me much. That's the curse of a life on a road. You've gone so often. People tend to forget you, so relationships fade. The only person I've ever cared about is my daughter. If I could be with her, I'd go wherever. Her daughter, then the one who'd passed away from cancer. Tiff rarely talked about her, but I knew it was the reason she'd started hauling on Route 333. I don't mean to be insensitive, I started, but you can't be with her. I don't reckon I can, so you wouldn't risk it. My stomach unclenched, so if you had the choice, you'd stay here. She stared at me, but she looked up at a burnt-out light fixture, at the employee smiling unnaturally behind the cash register, at the fake family laughing in a corner booth. She blew out of her mouth, yet her face grew gravely dark. But what sane person would stay? I nodded. Don't you go doing something stupid, she said. I snorted and plopped myself onto a table, swinging my legs off the edge. If only I could. We talked for a while, but she brought me some pie. We shared a pot of the only good coffee on Route 333. It wasn't until evening was setting in, and the automatic outside lights had switched on that I said, "Can I get you to check on something with me?" "What's that?" I led her to the back of my truck and rolled up the trailer. She peered in. "So there's nothing in there, is there? Nothing dangerous?" "No. Yet it's kind of hard to explain. Can you just go check on it?" She shrugged, climbed in, and sauntered to the back. "Then what were you asking about? I don't see anything." I slammed the door closed. "Brendan?" Her voice was quiet at first, inquisitive. The doors trembled, but I'd already snapped closed the padlock. He let me out. "They no can do. This isn't funny. This not," I agreed, yet the banging came soon after, then hollering, and controlled at first but increasingly more frantic. Asterisk, Brendan, asterisk. A piece of me drooped with it and flaked to dust. Asterisk, it's for your own good. Asterisk, I wanted to stay, but that would be too dangerous. I couldn't risk Tiff thinking I was doing this to help her, yet no more chances, so I'd already wasted them on Autumn. Tiff had admitted herself she would risk her life if it meant a chance at getting home, but in the distance, carts were rolling in. The shadows gathered like they were hiding something, concealing secrets that weren't meant to be found, and those thuds weren't in my imagination, then they were real. There are 3 rules at the local butcher shop, so breaking one almost cost me my life. Part 2, Part 1, //www, reddit.com/r/no-sleep/comments/1of week 74/ there are 3 rules at the local butcher shop /atom source equals share and atom medium equals webfeeks and atom name equals webfeeks and atom term equals 1 and the atom content equals share button. That first day it was one of the most awkward situations I've ever been in, with the next couple of days being much of the same, so he didn't explain much. He moved like a machine, every cut precise and calculated. I started with trimming the fat off ribeye steaks, following his silent instruction as best I could. Once I had mastered steak trimming, he let me butcher my first full carcass, a large pig. It had already been gutted and was hanging from a hook at the back of cooler number 1. He had 7 total walk-in coolers, each labelled with the type of meat they contained. Coolers 1 and 2 contained pork, while coolers 3 through 5 had beef. I didn't know what the last 2 contained. They were tucked in the back of the building behind plastic strip curtains with no labels on them, so I didn't ask about them. I figured if he wanted me to know what was in there, he would tell me. I hit the release button on the hoist, and the pig carcass came slamming down onto the meat cart. Furthermore, I wheeled the carcass into the cutting room, and George helped me raise it onto the table. He handed me a boning knife, smiling wryly. "Start at the hock and work your way up," he said, staring at me. "It don't hit the bone, it dulls the blade." He looked down at the carcass and pressed his finger into a visible groove in the skin, tracing an outline as if he were using his finger as a blade. "Slide between the joints, and the muscle will show you where to go." I didn't want to screw it up, so I watched and copied. It took hours to break it down, wrap the cuts, and label them, yet chops, but loin, then belly, and hams, but the primal cuts. I eventually zoned out, falling into the steady flow of butchery, and there was something meditative about the work. It was so repetitive, yet precise and clean in a twisted way, and then came the second carcass, but bigger, so not a pig this time, so I recognized it immediately. George rolled the meat cart into the cutting room with a large deer lying across it. He slid the carcass onto the floor, motioning for me to help him. I hurriedly grabbed the hind legs and lifted the animal onto the cutting table. In the back of my mind, I thought that this was what the last 2 coolers were for, so wild game meat. It was weird to see venison in a butcher shop, but not unheard of. "Got a special request," George said as he began sharpening his knife, yet I didn't ask questions. I just followed George's lead, hesitantly at first, but eventually falling back into the groove I had found with the pig carcass, so cut, so wrap, and label, but stack. We cut meat next to each other deep into the night, finally finishing the last cuts just after 2 am. I labelled the last couple of pieces and started washing everything down. George slid off his coat, hanging it on an old, rusted rack next to the entrance of the cutting room. "Get the rest of the trays cleaned and spray the tables down," he said, wiping his arms down with a rag. "After that, you can head on home." He paused for a moment before looking up at me. You did good today, kid, he said, smiling slightly. I have to admit, I didn't think you'd make it, but you have thoroughly impressed me. He tossed the rag into a dirty old trash bin next to the coat rack and pushed the plastic strip curtains aside, walking out of the cutting room and toward the front counter. I quickly turned my attention to the meat trays, trying to get them clean as fast as possible so I could head home for the night. The last tray clattered as I shoved it into the drying rack. I grabbed the hose and sprayed down the cutting tables, blasting away the blood along with bits of fat and bone clinging to the metal. The red-tinged water swirled toward the rusted floor drain, slowly spiraling into a clumpy stream of detritus. Though there was none left, the smell of raw meat lingered in the air, thick and heavy. No matter how much soap and water I used, the smell remained. Just as I was about to turn off the hose, I heard a dull thud echo from somewhere inside one of the walk-in coolers. It wasn't loud, but it was enough to make me stop what I was doing. I paused, shutting off the water to listen closely. Silence flooded back into the room, with the only audible sound being the buzzing fluorescent light above me, but my curiosity gripped me. I figured it was probably George stacking some boxes or checking stock, but something in the back of my mind was telling me to look. "George?" I called out, wiping my hands on my apron, then there was no answer. I stepped into the hallway, the chill immediately biting at my damp skin. My eyes immediately drifted to the curtains that concealed coolers 6 and 7. I quickly, but carefully, made my way down the hall. Pushing through the curtain, I revealed the mythical metal doors of the last 2 coolers. They were thick, reinforced with something beyond normal insulation. I hadn't really paid attention before, but now, as I stood in front of them, I could see deep scratches around the handle of cooler 7. They were faint, barely showing through the shining stainless steel, but they were there. I reached out, half ready to turn the handle, when a voice cut through the cold air behind me. "Don't go in there." I turned fast, nearly slipping on the wet floor. George stood on the other side of the curtain, holding it aside with one hand. His face was half lit by the overhead bulb cloaking his eyes in mystery. His voice was calm, but something in the way he stood there made my hair stand on end. He waited rigidly under the dying orange light with his other hand behind his back as if he were hiding something, but sorry, I stammered, stepping back. I thought I heard something. He stared at me for an uncomfortable amount of time, then nodded. Then sometimes the coolers creak, so pipes knock. This place is old. You'll get used to it. He gestured toward the front of the shop, so go home, then get some rest. We've got a lot of orders tomorrow. Stunned by the interaction, I didn't move right away, and neither did he. An uncomfortable silence once again filled the space between us. After what felt like an eternity, he spoke, cutting the tension. "And you did good today," he repeated. "But don't let your curiosity cost you." He smiled, relaxing his rigid stance a bit. I nodded slowly and turned to head in his direction, yet his body took up the entire hallway. I would have to pass him to leave the shop. As I tried to duck through the surrounding curtain, he grabbed my arm, startling me. "WH, what's wrong?" I asked, tripping over my words. He stared into my eyes as if he was searching for something before quickly lifting a smile onto his face. Nothing's wrong, son," he said, still firmly holding my arm in his grasp. "I just don't want to lose a good employee." His cold gaze pierced into my soul, delivering an unspoken warning of defying his judgment. He released my arm and stepped aside, allowing me to slide around him and out toward the front door. As I pushed the door open, I could feel his gaze burning a hole into the back of my head. I didn't look back. The situation had already gotten uncomfortable enough. I had just stepped one foot out of the door when I heard his voice rise from behind me. "Hey, kid, wait a second." Half of my brain was telling me to leave and not look back, yet the other half was telling me not to move. My fight or flight instinct was in deadlock. I slowly turned, expecting yet another death stare. George was walking toward me, looking down at something in his hands. He fumbled with it as he continually closed the gap between us. He stopped and pushed his hand out toward me. "Here you go," he said in an upbeat tone. "Figured I'd give you your first week's pay a little early." This is the complete opposite of what my mind had prepared me for. I looked down at his hand, which was full of crumpled up bills. I paused for a moment, seemingly forgetting that this was my job now. "Oh, thanks," I stuttered as I reached out and grabbed the wad of bills from the man's rough, calloused hand. He smiled as he turned and walked back behind the counter, disappearing through the plastic strip curtains. My mind raced as I walked out of the shop and towards my car. I sat down in the driver's seat, replaying the interaction in my head. Then it was so strange, so tense. I tried to push it to the back of my mind as I looked down at my hand, which was still clutching the money he had given me. Furthermore, I unfurled my fist and dumped the cash out into my passenger seat. With the aid of my cabin light, I counted out $350. "What the fuck?" I said aloud, reeling from the amount. Yet this must be a mistake. There is no way he meant to pay me this much. I started to get out of the car and go back inside the shop, but my body wouldn't let me. I had been overworked and underpaid for so long that this somehow felt good. Furthermore, I had actually made some pretty good money for doing something that I thought, at this point, was fairly routine. Furthermore, I crumpled the bills back up and slid them into my pocket. Furthermore, I turned the key in the ignition and headed back to my cousin's place to get some much-needed rest. The next few shifts came and left a lot faster than I had expected. At a time I clocked in each night, the place felt oddly familiar, yet it was as if nothing had changed, yet that I had always been here. George didn't act any different, still cold and distant like normal, but as time passed, I started to get the sense that he had a side to him I hadn't seen yet. I started to feel more uncomfortable with each passing day. It was the work that unsettled me, it was the silence, and the way he moved, and the way the place felt, then the way I got paid, and it all felt so strange. It was just now dawning on me how weird this all was. I had been blinded by greed, allowing money to stifle my concerns. My third week at the shop is when things took a turn. George had acted a little strange at the start of that Wednesday night, but I had just chalked it up to the work week taking its toll. It was just after 1 a.m. when he handed me the usual pile of orders to prep for the next day, then beef, then pork, yet venison, but just like always. I finished the cuts I had left on my table and began my nightly clean-up routine before moving to the next task. George hung up his coat and headed toward the coolers. I grabbed the last of the trash bags filled with used gloves and bloody rags and started tossing them into the industrial trash bin out back, so it was deathly quiet out there. Not even the crickets dared disturb the silence.